You know that little buzz on your wrist or the notification on your phone? The one that celebrates you for hitting 10,000 steps? Yeah, that one. It's become this universal gold standard for a healthy day. But have you ever actually stopped and wondered, where did that number even come from? Let's get into it.
So, that's the big question we're tackling. Is this magic number really rooted in hard science, or is it something else entirely? We are going to unpack this whole myth, look at what the research actually says, and help you figure out what number you should really be aiming for.
We all know the rule, right? It's simple, it's memorable, and it feels doable. But what's so wild is that while we've all chased this 10,000-step goal, almost nobody knows its origin story. And trust me, it's a surprising one.
And I mean, it is everywhere. This number is completely baked into our culture. Think about it. Workplace wellness challenges, public health campaigns, the whole fitness tech industry. So much of it is built around hitting this one target. It is the undisputed king of daily goals.
Okay, so let's dive into the history, because this is where it gets really fun. The origin of the 10,000-step goal has absolutely nothing to do with a modern lab, or a university study, or a government health agency. Nope, its roots are actually in marketing.
All right, so picture this. It's 1965. A Japanese company is about to release a new pedometer, and they need a really catchy name. They land on Mompoke, which literally translates to 10,000 steps meter. It was a brilliant marketing slogan, not a medical prescription. It just perfectly tapped into the huge popularity of walking clubs in Japan at the time and gave people this clear, simple target to aim for.
And here's this fantastic little detail that just totally sealed the deal. This right here is the Japanese character for 10,000. I mean, look at it. It kind of looks like a little person striding forward, doesn't it? It was visually memorable, easy to get, and it just stuck.
And this quote from McGill University just nails it. The number wasn't picked for its specific health benefits. It was chosen because it was catchy, it was a nice round number, and well, it sold a lot of pedometers. And for decades, that's what we've all been chasing.
So, if the number was just a marketing gimmick, does that mean it's useless? Well, not exactly. Since then, researchers have put this whole idea to the test. So let's pivot away from the myth and look at what years of actual rigorous science have to say about how many steps we really need for our health.
Just take a look at this major study from the National Institutes of Health. It is pretty staggering. Compared to people who only took about 4,000 steps a day, those who hit 8,000 steps cut their risk of dying from any cause over the next decade in half. Push that up to 12,000 steps, and that risk drops by 65%. The evidence is crystal clear. More steps are definitely better.
You know, this illustrates a classic scientific principle called a dose-response relationship. It's basically like medicine. A small dose has an effect, and a larger dose has a bigger effect, up to a certain point, of course. In this case, the dose is your steps, and the response is a huge boost to your health.
So where does that dose really start to kick in? Well, landmark research from Dr. Iman Lee at Harvard found that for older women, big health benefits, like a lower risk of dying, started showing up at just 4,000 steps a day. I mean, that's a way more attainable starting point than 10,000, right?
And here's the really crucial part of her research. The benefits kept climbing and climbing until about 7,500 steps a day. After that, they started to level off. Women who walked 10,000 steps didn't see a significant additional drop in mortality risk compared to those walking 7,500. This really points to a scientific sweet spot.
But hey, science is always evolving. A huge study in 2022 looked at almost 80,000 people, and it confirmed that walking more all the way up to that 10,000 step mark was linked to a low risk of not just early death, but also developing cancer and heart disease. So it turns out that old marketing number accidentally landed in a pretty good neighborhood after all.
Okay, so we've established more steps are fantastic for longevity and preventing disease, but what about the reason a lot of people start counting steps to begin with, managing their weight, or maybe even losing some fat? Is 10,000 steps the magic bullet for that?
The common thinking is pretty simple, right? You walk more, you weigh less. But this really fascinating study from Brigham Young University decided to test that idea directly on college freshmen, a group famous for gaining weight. And well, their findings really challenged that whole assumption.
Just get a load of this data. The researchers had students walk 10,000, 12,500, or even a massive 15,000 steps a day every day for 6 months. And the result? It made literally no difference to their weight.
On average, they all gained about 3.5 pounds, which is pretty typical for first-year students. Even walking over 14,500 steps a day couldn't stop it.
So this really gets to a super important point, something the lead author said himself. While exercise is incredibly important for your health, no question, it's often not the magic bullet for weight loss we want it to be. Your diet and other factors play such a huge role that steps alone just can't outrun them.
And this is so important. The study did find a massive, undeniable benefit. Just look at the group that walked 15,000 steps a day. They cut their sedentary time, their sitting time, by 77 minutes every single day. That is huge. Honestly, just getting people out of their chairs might be the single biggest health benefit of tracking steps.
All right, so we've busted the origin myth, we've looked at the real science for your health, and we've gotten clear on the role of steps in managing weight. So let's put it all together and figure out, what does this mean for you? How do you find your own personal magic number?
Okay, here is a simple, science-backed plan. First, just start where you are. Seriously, if you only get 3,000 steps a day right now, aiming for 4,000 is a massive win. Second, a fantastic target for most people seems to be that sweet spot of 7,000 to 8,000 steps. That's where you get the biggest health bang for your buck. And third, don't just focus on the count, think about the cadence. Picking up the pace, walking a little faster, can give you extra benefits all on its own.
So let's just end with this thought. The 10,000 step goal, born from a clever marketing slogan, actually gave us a pretty useful, if accidental, target. But maybe the real goal isn't about hitting some single universal number. Maybe it's just about the journey, that simple, powerful act of moving a little more. What if the most powerful goal of all is to simply make today a little more active than yesterday?